Hopefully no one listened to Ian. We know he's not he loves to be the boss, but he's not the boss.
I had that one week where I did the intro and it was really good and everyone said they loved it.
I do like Ian's intro.
Thank you.
They're entertaining.
She immediately backs off.
I know.
It doesn't mean they're good.
She goes from, I liked it. Well, let me qualify that.
Oh, it's tough being a genius.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bry Guy and Super Friends. This week with 100% less Mike and 50% less prep. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is Becky Zadel.
Ahoy, hoy.
Josh Zorch.
The last time I was on, didn't you guys come up with something that you said was supposed to be my intro from now on? I don't remember what the frick it was.
Oh, I couldn't remember either.
It was not the Mouth of the South thing anymore. It was something else that came up during the course of the conversation, and someone made the comment like, that's could be like your nickname or your intro thing or something.
See, you're asking me to do research that I definitely didn't do.
You guys need to start writing shit down.
The only one that takes notes in this show is me, and I never think to take those notes.
I have so many notes.
We on Grown Up Human, we'll write down hashtags or intros because we tag them with the Epicast Network, and it actually helps because in the moment you're like, oh, I'll totally remember that, but when you go to like edit the shit together, you never remember.
That's true. Yeah, that's a true statement. And our last guest, Ian Leidick.
Hey guys, check out my podcast, Den of Sadness. My co-host, DJ Dog Pound, is hella depressed. This week, we discussed a quote from one of my favorite anime, Yahara Ora no Saishin Love Comedy wa Machigatari Roo! This line is delivered by our MC, Hachiman. 80% of guys out there live their lives thinking, does she like me? Thus, it's necessary to sober oneself with a warning, like, how could she possibly?
Like, halfway through those, I'm wondering, like, should I cut him off? Is it just gonna keep going? I can never tell.
It's still going.
That is a real title of something, isn't it? You did not make that, whatever title you quoted that ended in whoo, or whatever it was. You did, that already exists, doesn't it?
The English translation is my romantic team comedy snafu, and that's an actual quote from the show delivered by our main character, Hachiman.
It's great. That's so informative for people.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, guys. Check it out. On Crunchyroll. Give me my money.
I like Crunchyroll.
Gotta make them dollars.
The obligatory Crunchyroll reference. Alright, you check that box, Ian.
Thank you. I'm going to tweet them now to let them know.
So this is a historic moment for us, just because I think I've finally got Josh and Becky together, who I've tried to get on probably since Becky has done this show the first time.
Like a year ago.
Yeah,
Just
so it's been that long.
And it's ironic because I've known Becky for like 27 years.
Yeah, you're the one that referred her to me to get her on the podcast, and you still haven't been on to be on the podcast with her.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I think I'm owed some kind of like finder's fee because I think this is like at least the second person who I've brought into like conversation of the show and then became an eventual contributor and host.
That's true. I think Becky and Mike Bradley were both two that started just commenting on the Facebook page, and it was like, you know what? You guys would work on the show. Let's get you on here.
Yeah.
Josh and his spiderweb of connections.
Yes, and here we have a banner occasion here that now that we're both on.
Yeah, this will go down in infamy.
Teachers used to think we were twins.
'Cause
it's true.
We have our last names both begin with Z, so we were always placed like alphabetically in the room, like right next to each other at the end. And yeah, they thought we looked a lot alike. Even no joke, one of our 6th grade Latin teacher literally thought we were twins, even though we had different last names.
And we told her, Zorch Zadel, we would like argue with her, and first of all, her perfume almost made me pass out every day. Miss Sobel.
She was a really lovely woman.
Yeah, let's put it that way. She was like, if you guys aren't twins, I swear. And I'm like, you can look at your syllabus or your attendance
roster,
sheet,
yeah,
and see that we're not twins. And she would just keep insisting. Okay, sure.
So, Super Friends episode, first time with the Wonder Twins, I guess.
Oh, there we go. That's a good name.
Nice.
Patented.
Low-hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so for this episode, last week we covered a lot of news from D23, which was Disney's expo. Just 1 week after that, they had San Diego Comic-Con out in California. So that one happened to debut more trailers and news from that event. If you were checking out Facebook page over that weekend, I was posting a shit ton of stuff, articles, trailers, that anytime I found something, I was putting it up there for people to hopefully see. So, as promised, over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about it. So this week is our wrap-up of news and trailers that dropped during SDCC. We've got a lot to cover, so we're going to try to just jump into it and keep going. So we'll start with a couple trailers that come out, because I feel like those discussions will probably be a little bit longer, so we'll see how long they go. So the first trailer we'll talk about is for Justice League. If you haven't been following along with the movie, I feel like we talked about this at one point, but honestly I can't remember. Zack Snyder is no longer involved with Justice League. It's not that he was fired or let go like the directors of the Han Solo movie. Snyder had a personal tragedy happen, and he decided to take some time off. All reports were saying Warner Brothers would have delayed the release of Justice League to allow Snyder to come back and finish. Instead, Snyder has asked Joss Whedon to step in, who is currently trying to work on Batgirl for Warner Brothers. So Whedon will come in and finish the film. This is the same man that gave us Avengers Age of Ultron for Marvel, so he's now working on Justice League. Joss will be taking over the reshoots that are currently happening.
I will gladly step into this project and execute my vision.
When Joss Whedon gets overwhelmed with Justice League, he's going to call you up. You're next on the call sheet.
Probably. Creative consultants.
So, Whedon's involved in the reshoots, complete with the difficult task of removing Henry Cavill's mustache in post.
Oh, I was just gonna say, holy shit. I want to see a breakdown of the budget for the film and see how much money was spent taking off Henry Cavill's Mission Impossible mustache. If that budget can cover free lunches for every fucking poor kid in America, then I'm gonna walk off a damn cliff. Because it's 2017, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I have no idea how much time or money that's going to take, but yeah, the figure would be interesting.
I think they should just leave it and don't even acknowledge it. Don't address it.
Look, we have makeup artists that can put fake mustaches on. I don't understand.
Well, there's a whole thing. The director for Mission Impossible had come out and tried to clarify that the whole reason he is contractually obligated to keep the mustache is due to some sort of stunt they are trying to do with his character where a fake mustache would most likely fall off or blow off. So they need the real deal to keep on his face.
And they're going to burn it later.
Probably. After all the trouble it's caused, I would too.
Well, that's the scene. That's why they need it. You can't burn a fake mustache there under union rules.
Well, it just seems funny. It just seems funny that apparently, like, it was so important to keep that mustache, but they haven't, like, completed the stunt that it's necessary for. Mm-hmm. and like, so he could, like, be called back to complete the stunt work. But he's taking a break from it. Like, it's not important enough to just be done already, because he apparently gets to, like, time away to go do these reshoots. So why not get the frickin' thing done?
I don't know what the scheduling thing is. Like, if they just didn't intend for Justice League reshoots to be happening now, if maybe this director change pushed reshoots back, because maybe it was delayed, like, reshoots got delayed because Joss Whedon was coming in and Snyder was stepping away. So maybe that's taking place in the middle of Mission Impossible 6 for him. Uh-huh. Just a thought.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, so we'll try to catch up with that later, maybe after Justice League is out, and if they start releasing figures or something like that, that could be fun to come back to. But for the trailer for Justice League, we'll start there. What do you guys? What stood out about the trailer? Anything to you guys that you want to talk about?
First of all, they're only doing reshoots with Joss Whedon. Zack Snyder, as we've discussed in the two episodes ago when I was here, he did most of the shooting. So, and let me just say, nothing exemplified Zack Snyder's influence more than Commissioner Gordon pulling the lever on that Batlight and superfluous, unnecessary sparks flying everywhere. Because when you think of a simple guide light or a spotlight, what happens? Absolutely nothing. The light comes on. Or it doesn't if someone actually tripped over the plug. You know what doesn't happen? Zack Snyder sparks. So, when I was watching the trailer, I was going, very Bob's Burgers, okay, Zack Snyder, yeah.
I guess the sparks, I guess, are to signify that the bat signal hasn't been used in a while. It's sort of what I got from it.
Perhaps.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I will say, aside from stuff like that, which, yes, we're gonna get a lot of Snyder-ness to it, so to speak, but, like, for instance, like, a lot of the extra screen time that you got to see with especially Aquaman and, like, Commissioner Gordon, like, I'm actually really excited for J.K. Simmons, Commissioner Gordon in this, like, in a way that I didn't think I was gonna be. Like, I thought he would just be a person taking this role this time, but, like, his screen time, like, I think he's, like, gonna be one of those people that kind of commands the scene every time he's in it.
Yeah, I guess it just remains to see how much we'll actually see him in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was just nice to see it all
role.
highlighted, though.
Yeah. Ian, anything stick out to you?
I liked in the very beginning with Wonder Woman when they're shooting the gun at her, instead of blocking it, she, like, dodges it like the Matrix. So that was a nice way to, like, subvert my expectations of this movie. And then other than that, Simmons is Commissioner Gordon. He, like, looks like Commissioner Gordon, like, perfectly. Like, that's what I expect Commissioner Gordon to look like. And I really like the scene with, when everyone leaves at the bat signal and Flash stays behind, even though he's the fastest one. I thought it was a really good joke by Zack Snyder.
That felt like a Joss Whedon joke to me.
Yeah, that felt like Whedon to me, actually.
I don't know. Zack Snyder's a master of the literary form. See him penning that.
And definitely the humor element.
And Trump's a great president.
He's a humorist. Just like the guy that does Dilbert.
I love J.K. Simmons and everything he does. From Law & Order to Juno to Legend of Korra. Everything he does, I just thoroughly enjoy. I think he's a great actor. He's a great voice actor. I very much like him as Commissioner Gordon. Kind of a meta question for you guys. Just watching the newly released trailer, it came out last week, right? It seemed like the whole theme of the trailer was showing that Superman is actually going to be in Justice League. And it's odd because if you think about it, DC had been playing oddly coy about that. And I don't know why, because we all knew he was gonna be in it.
Right.
But if you look at the teasers and the announcements, is Superman gonna be in it? Is Henry Cavill's mustache gonna be in it? I mean, but why? I mean, it's unintentional. No, it's intentional build-up for something that all of the fans knew was gonna happen.
Yeah, I guess maybe the question is just how much we're gonna see Superman.
Right.
Like, is he going to show up second act stuff? Is he going to show up third act stuff? Or right at the end of the movie?
True. That's a fair question.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because as far as I can tell, they're still basically going, like, they're not calling this, like, none of the promo stuff has called this Justice League Part 1, but I guess still call it, like, the second half of the movie that's going to come out, like, a year later is still unofficially titled Justice League Part 2. So I'm assuming it's going to be just like a continuation of the arc of the story. So they could very much, I mean, honestly, I think they would be stupid to bring him back any earlier than the last 10 minutes of the movie. Because you're going to have to introduce Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg in this movie and make us give a crap about them. Why would you pull Superman back in to play a major role? Why not just keep him towards the end, and then he can, play a more pivotal role in the second half?
Yeah, I was going to ask, more to your point with Part 2, is Part 2 still scheduled a year later? Because I have heard nothing about Part 2.
I haven't heard anything either. So. It's, I mean, that when the original announcements were made,
Right, I know that was the original
said.
plan, but I feel like DC cannot stick to their schedule that they released. Like, they keep shuffling movies around, delaying stuff, trying to bring stuff up. Like, Batgirl was never on their original release slate, and yet that's coming.
That's true.
They're trying to fit in a Batman movie sometime, which I feel like they want to get out sooner rather than later, so that could be before Part 2.
That's true. I don't know, discuss amongst yourselves. Let's see if I can find something.
Ian, what do you think? You think we'll get Part 2 next year, or are they delaying?
I just can't imagine it, because, like, that's the thing with DC, is they, like, none of theirs are, I think, actually, like, filming right now, isn't that the thing? Because Wonder Woman hasn't started filming, I don't think they've started filming the Flash movie, like, there's nothing really going on with them, where Marvel seems to always be filming something.
True, yeah.
It's like they think they can just wait, and, like, they'll nail it, though. Not a big deal that they're not currently filming stuff.
Ian's already confident they got this one in the bag.
Zack Snyder just needs to come back and save the franchise. I know we're all waiting for it.
Oh my god, Ian.
But I think on the Superman point, it does make a lot of sense to have him show up later on. Especially since I remember with the BVS scene where the Flash time travels to talk to Batman.
Yeah.
It seems like something's happening with him, so I think that makes more sense to happen. Not that we'll see that Flash scene in this Justice League movie, but to have Superman come back early, I think, would mean that scene would have to come here, so I think it would be later.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And yeah, not to like jump topics, we can definitely keep on this because I know we have like Flash news later, but that scene specifically in Batman Superman, since you brought it up, like his dialogue is a warning to Bruce, and it seems like he's talking about Superman, right? Mm-hmm. Did everyone take it that way?
I mean, that's what we're led to believe because that's where Batman's paranoia is in that movie.
Right. Now, since they are apparently going forward with the Flashpoint idea for Flash's movie, do you think that was intentional? Like, do you think they knew that at the time? And could the warning that he's coming back in Batman Superman have something to do with how they're going to draw out the plot for Flash's movie in, like, the alternate future or something? Not all, I guess it'd be alternate present, really, but do you think they're connected?
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
Because it has something to do with what Josh has said. I know you guys aren't really up on the comics, but there is a Batman the Flash crossover series in 2017 called The Button. And it hasn't been related yet. The Button being the comedian's button. They haven't gotten to that part yet, but the scene that you're talking about is in that book almost word for word.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it was that current?
So here's my thing, and I could see Joss Whedon pulling it that way, but not Zack Snyder. Joss Whedon reads books. Zack Snyder reads children's books. But I'm just saying that whenever I saw that in the trailer, I was surprised because I just read the Batman Flash crossover. Now the Button's not done yet, but its a pivotal moment. One that sold out books was that scene. I will tell you that in the book they're not talking about warning about Superman.
Oh, okay.
So, but it is very close in terms of wording and the warning. I could see Joss Whedon taking it in the book direction, but this is so recent, I don't see how he could possibly pull that off.
Yeah.
All right,
but I'm just giving you that little insight. I was really surprised that happened.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we see more of DC's movies, whenever they finally get to wherever that, the point in their movie universe where Flash actually travels from the future back to talk to Bruce, like, in the context of that overarching story, you're going to see that he's not talking about Superman. They're talking about some sort of bigger villain that's coming. It's just that at that point in time, because it seems like, because even in his line of dialogue when he's talking to Bruce, he mentioned that he showed up at the wrong spot. He mentioned specifically, I'm too early.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever warning
exactly what he says in the Button.
so yeah, whatever warning he was trying to deliver did not go as intended.
Have you guys read Rebirth yet? Like the #1 issue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that scene happens in that too. A little less pronounced, but happens.
Was that when he was talking to Kid Flash?
Yep.
Okay.
And Batman's the one who first senses his presence. Well, I don't want to give anything away, but I don't know. My point is that I wonder if Whedon gives a nod to the books. That's all. Yeah,
that's definitely possible too.
Didn't mean to derail you.
No, you're good. You're good. We were sort of talking about Superman, so we're assuming probably the end of the trailer, whoever Alfred is talking to is probably Superman. Is that a safe assumption?
Green Lantern?
That was the other thing I heard. People were thinking, it could be Green Lantern.
No, they've said no Green Lantern. I thought they confirmed no Lantern.
In this movie?
Yeah.
Or just, okay.
I'm almost positive, because I thought that too, and every person I've talked to, my comic, Dan Degnan, my friend who owns Southside Comics, no Green Lantern.
Okay.
But, yeah, no Green Lantern.
Because whoever voices over the trailer, which I'm guessing is the villain for the movie, I think that's supposed to be Steppenwolf, correct?
Yeah, it's Syrian Hines, the actor.
Okay. He specifically says at one point, there's no lanterns and there's no Kryptonians protecting this world. So if they're planning on bringing on Green Lantern, they haven't established that yet.
Yeah,
I thought they were doing a Lanterns movie at some point, but I don't know when that is.
Again, I think their original schedule had it on for and this is the schedule they announced in 2014 or 2015. I think they had it on for 2020, but the Flash movie that was supposed to be 2018 is now back to 2020, so God only knows when. But I actually liked that little addition of that mention. There's all these little tidbits that I liked the cut of this trailer a lot more. The first one they put out a couple months ago, I was like, oh, okay, this could actually be entertaining. I'll admit it, I think the movie could actually be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm interested in it. I think even just bringing in Whedon, even to just script doctor it a little bit, maybe add a little bit more humor or something that can, I don't know, bring some levity up, because the other ones are so dark and gritty and gloomy. Mm-hmm. That you need some sort of humor or a little bit of lighter touch to it to just make it more accessible, I think. So,
and I think first of all, I think adding Wonder Woman is going to help that.
Yeah.
But also Aquaman, and I have a comment about Aquaman too, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I liked Aquaman. I think is going to be your comedic relief. I'm just saying that I liked when Aquaman was in the teasers. Jason Momoa, right? That's his name?
Yep.
He's not a very good actor. I liked when he was silent in the teasers. It gave him an air of mysteries. He was had the beer. It was funny. Now he can talk, and he sounds like a cross between Pauly Shore and Thor.
I could see that, yeah. I definitely get that surfer dude vibe.
Yeah, they're definitely going for that.
It's a lot easier when you're speaking a nonsense language that no one understands in Game of Thrones. I'm sorry, I don't think he's a very good actor. I don't think Emilia Clarke's a very good actress either. That whole part of Westeros sucks. But I don't know. I was looking forward to seeing Aquaman. I think I told you guys this when we were talking about the teaser. I was looking forward to Aquaman, and now I'm like, maybe you should keep your mouth closed.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe the moments that we've seen, utilizing him for levity, maybe we've seen the bulk of his dialogue scenes. Maybe he'll just be interspersed like that. And I think you're right, him, and definitely the way that they're using Ezra Miller. The way they're going to use Barry Allen in The Flash, I think, is also going to be for those little punches here and there. Because, no offense, Ben Affleck can do comedy very well, I think, actually. But not this. They don't want Bruce Wayne to be comedic relief. They don't want him to be, and that's fine. But then someone else has got to bring it up, and I think it's going to be those two characters.
You don't think his line about being rich is his superpower was his comedy coming out?
That was, I think, the low-hanging fruit joke that they saw somewhere that they could set up. But hey, you gotta give it to him. It's very well delivered.
I want to know who wrote that line in. Who gets credit for that one?
I hope somebody got a bonus just for that one.
I hope Ben wrote it himself. He's like, guys, you gotta let me use this one.
The only actual gripe I have with the trailer itself, like I said, this actually, not that it turned me around because I was already in the bag for it. I was going to be, I was curious enough to see it anyway. But the only gripe I had was that duplicated, leg sweep shot that they used of Wonder Woman.
Oh, she does the same fight move everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only thing that seemed really odd to use. It's like the same slow-mo frame, the same angle, the same, like, everything. It's just her doing it to somebody else in a different place. I just don't know why they, like, literally use the same exact kind of shot. It just seemed like an odd choice, but, yeah, other than that, I actually, like I said, it strengthened my curiosity in the movie and belief that it could actually be pretty good.
Ian and Becky, you guys think this trailer, I don't know, got you more excited for the movie? Or are you still about the same? Iffy?
I'm iffy. But
Okay.
you know what? Look what happened when I was excited about Logan. Okay? I'm just gonna say, it's a Zack Snyder mostly film. I'm just gonna go into it saying it's Zack Snyder mostly and not freak out if it sucks. But
That's
I'm
fair.
hoping that the influence of Whedon and the influence of strengthened DC storylines makes it a better movie than its predecessors, because holy shit.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman notwithstanding, its track record is not good.
Yeah. Ian, your close personal friend Zack Snyder.
Did not reach out to me for these reshoots, which deeply upset me. But as he knows, I'm always there for him. But I'm at the same level I was with this trailer. It didn't move the needle for me. I was always gonna see it because where I was at with the DCU is like, if Wonder Woman was at least good, I'll stick it through for a while. Wonder Woman was good, so I'm gonna stick it through with this because I think it's gonna be tough for them to really make a bad movie here, like Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it being that level of terrible.
Well, you hope not.
And Zack Snyder can just make a good film to, like, action popcorn. Like, I'll have fun watching it at the very least. Those action scenes will be
It's just a
great.
matter of if you'll forget it as soon as you leave the theater or not.
I mean, if the worst part of the movie is going to be that the bat signal has some sparks, so be it.
Fair enough.
Alright, I think that's a good place to transition to the next trailer we got, which is for Marvel's Thor Ragnarok.
Actually, Brian, before we do that, I'm going to cut in with an impromptu walking between two worlds segment because
there we go.
Because one of the actors that we just spent a little bit of time verbally filleting was J.K. Simmons, and he is a prime example of the spirit of this because, as many of us know, he played J. Jonah Jameson in the 3 Spider-Man Raimi trilogy movies, and as we discussed, will be now playing Commissioner Gordon in the DC universe.
Which, out of all their, like, if they... Granted, I realize with these Spider-Man reboots, they shouldn't, like, connect anything, but I'll be damned if J.K. Simmons doesn't come back as J. Jonah Jameson in the MCU.
Right?
I want that so bad.
I would love it, and yet, like, same thing, like, don't give it, like, any awkward acknowledgement that, like, everyone else around him is different. He was so perfect for that role that they should do whatever they need to get him back into it.
Yeah, just pick up exactly where you left off.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
Put Elizabeth Banks back in as,
Betty Brant.
Betty Brant, yeah.
Well, the problem with that is they cast Betty Brant in the MCU.
I don't care. She like that little girl for like the sophomore or whatever that appeared in that little high school video. I don't care. I will suspend disbelief to think that, in the next movie that Elizabeth Banks is playing like a 17-year-old. I don't care.
What if she's Betty Brant's mom or something?
Nope.
It has to be Betty Brant.
Unacceptable. Yep.
Well, we'll see what we can work out for you.
Hashtag Banksy now.
Alright, so moving on to Thor Ragnarok. Marvel's panel happened, they showed Infinity War footage, again, the same footage they showed at D23, did not officially release it online, it leaked all over the place, you could have caught it that weekend, it's gone now, you'll never see it again. But they did give us a new trailer for Ragnarok. So, what did you guys think of the new trailer, which I feel like should probably be called Thor's Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I'm not saying that in a bad way, like, I loved it, so...
First of all, I'm loving, just another meta comment, I'm loving the song choices for these films. Ragnarok has Zeppelin's Immigrant Song. Ready Player One's got Rush's Tom Sawyer. These are just great choices.
Mhm.
Yeah. Somebody noticed a formula that I'm definitely going to attribute to James Gunn in the marketing of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah.
And they're realizing that it's a good way to go.
Yeah. But, to address your Guardians comment, I don't know. I trust Taika Waititi. I love his films. I like his short movies. He's a funny guy. I trust him. I think he's a good director. So, and he's been a comic book fan for a long time. So, I don't know. I'm gonna trust cautiously optimistic trust of Taika Waititi.
Well, let me ask you this then. What worries you about this movie? If you have full trust in the director, what are you worried about?
Well, I'm not so much worried. It's just, again, I keep getting let down by movies like Logan. But again, I mean, that's my subjective opinion. I thought, and again, I talked about this last time when we saw the teaser. I think it's a welcome departure from the first two Thor films. I was okay with the first film, kind of boring. Thor talks like an NPC from Skyrim. And the second movie's just terrible, but he's still getting used to Earth. And now, just the way he talks, he's, I think I said this before, it sounds like he's been living with Stu the IT guy for a year. But he has been. So that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the comedy is a bad thing. I think that him interacting with other creatures and humans and whatnot is going to inspire both comedy and drama. And I think that Ragnarok right now, given Taika Waititi's background, is showing the comedic side of that. We might not be getting the dramatic side yet. I have a friend who got really angry at he's my friend from work, comment that was in the trailer when Thor sees Hulk. And I found out, I don't know if you guys knew this, it was improvised by the Make-A-Wish kid who was visiting the set.
I just read that today, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and they thought it was funny and they incorporate. I had a friend who got really angry at that. He said, Thor would never say that. Well,
So,
let
wait,
it fly.
He got angry that Thor said it, or he got angry that they took the suggestion or like from a Make-A-Wish kid and actually incorporated it?
Oh, definitely not the latter. He's not that big of a dick.
Oh, okay.
Whenever he and my friend Dan, when we talk about Thor, he is a Thor purist. He is, he does everything for the glory of Valhalla. He doesn't talk like Stu the IT guy. So he wasn't angry. He was just like, oh, come on, he would never say that. And then I was like, it was suggested by a dying kid, Dan. He goes, oh, shit. All right. No, he's not that big of a jerk. He's a very sweet guy. I think and I keep saying this, it is yet to be seen. I'm okay with it. I have faith in the director. So far.
So you're still you don't want to go in with very high expectations and be disappointed. Is basically where we're at.
Well, that's what I go into every movie thinking.
It's a safe way to play it, though.
With one notable exception, and that was Wonder Woman.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, that's not necessarily like a totally bad philosophy, because if you go in like expecting to be disappointed, then you're typically maybe pleasantly surprised most of the time, right?
Yep, I am.
There you go.
Anybody else for Thor? What'd you guys think?
I thought, we talked on the first trailer, it had a Guardians feel to it, and then they went full frontal with it here by just having him bringing in a team. Really, we're just having fun saving the galaxy now. Just a bunch of dudes hanging out, saving the world.
No biggie.
Yeah, no big deal. It's really, the least interesting thing Thor's ever done with his life. I think we also talked the first time, I really would have preferred if they kind of didn't show the Hulk. I was even fine with them even saying the Invincible, but then cutting the trailer there.
Yeah.
Even if we all knew who it was, I kind of wanted that little suspense.
Yeah.
But I get it now, since they're gonna team up and they wanted to show them all joining up together and uniting. They wanted to show us that. That's fine. I did really enjoy the end of the trailer when the lady asks him what he's the god of, and he's, going all, like, electric-y.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed seeing him like that. I don't know.
I did too, actually. Well, he kind of looked like Avatar in that second, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool shot.
I'm wondering, like, how early into the movie that will be, if that's just going to be, like, the last part, or if he'll be using these powers throughout the movie.
What, all the lightning thunder powers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I don't feel like he's used them enough, so hopefully he gets some more use out of them.
Agreed. First of all, I'm happy to see Loki because I like Loki, and that means Sarah Zorch will be seeing it, right, Josh?
Yeah, I'm sure Sarah will do it.
Sorry,
Josh stepped away.
But she's gonna say, 'cause she loves Tom Hiddleston.
A lot of people do, yeah. He's gonna be a big draw for that movie.
I like him too. Do you think he would have been in that movie otherwise? If he wasn't popular? Do you think they just brought him in for fans? Do you know what I mean?
I'm sure, well, I think he would have been in there regardless. I think depending on how the fans think will determine screen time. Like Thor 2, after him in Avengers, everybody walked out of there really loving Loki in Avengers, so they gave him more screen time in Thor 2. So it could be sort of the same thing with this one, where if they think Loki will be a big draw, they'll incorporate him more in the script and the movie and screen time and stuff like that. So yeah, I would not be surprised if he's in it for like half the movie. Because the trailer seems to hint that he will be part of this ragtag team that Thor puts together.
Yeah. One thing I'm kind of hoping for, I'm seeing glimpses, not full action, of Tessa Thompson as the Valkyrie.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel, and I won't be a broken record, I've said this several times, does not have the most stellar record of giving depth to female superhero characters.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Hela might be the one with the most depth. She's a god, though. It doesn't count.
Yeah.
Valkyrie's kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out in the world. She looks pretty kick-ass. I always liked Sif, Jamie Alexander as Sif, but they never gave her any depth either.
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping, look, come on, Taika Waititi, I like you a lot. Give me some female empowerment. Valkyrie looks pretty kick-ass. And Sif is in this movie too a little bit, so.
Oh, Sif is in it?
Yeah, she's in it.
Nice. Okay,
I'm not sure she's on the cast listing. Maybe she's in a flashback, but she's in the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure because she still has a full-time television show if she'd be able to do anything with the movie or not.
What's she on?
Not Blacklist. What the hell's the other one like that? Fuck, she's got tattoos and shit on her, and they...
Orange is the New Black, I believe.
No, that's not it. It's on NBC. I think it's like by the people that do Blacklist, and I used to watch it, and now for the life of me, I can't think of the fucking name.
Code Red.
No.
Sorry,
it's not that important.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
she does have a full-time television show.
Okay.
Yeah. I think with TV, they usually set it up so they can step away at points to film stuff.
Blind
it
spot.
doesn't always work out.
Blind spot. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I'm hoping for some female empowerment, and anything that Jeff Goldblum is in, I'm okay with, except for Independence Day 2.
You gotta add that in there, that little bullet point.
Yep.
What'd you guys think of Hulk finally talking and trying to carry on a conversation like a 2-year-old?
I liked it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I guess I think that what they talked about at the panel was that Hulk has not reverted to Bruce Banner for like 2 years.
Oh.
So he's starting to develop speech patterns, and that's why he talks like a 2-year-old, because technically Hulk is like 2 or 3 years old.
Cool.
Does this does he reset every time he switches back or something?
That's what I don't know. I hope not, because that would kind of take away the fun of Hulk being able to talk.
Or it's just total time in the form, helps him age up.
I don't think he resets because he has that connection with Black Widow.
True.
That he feels. I don't know. You look. This movie looks fun, and I'm okay with having and you're absolutely right. It looks more of like a Guardians movie, or rather a team movie, than a Thor film. But you know what? I'm okay with that because second Thor film sucked, and the first one was a little boring.
Right. I think they realized the formula they had for the first 2 Thor movies didn't particularly sit well with people. And then they had James Gunn play around with Guardians of the Galaxy, that is also a universe-expanding movie and franchise and stuff for them. And they figured Thor could tap into that too, because he is otherworldly and can bounce between planets and stuff. So yeah, I think tapping into that Guardians aesthetic, I think, is a good change of pace for Thor. And judging from the trailers, this is going to be fantastic. One question that I have for you guys, and I don't know if I'm thinking of this correctly, so correct me if I'm wrong, but this ties into Thanos, Becky's favorite character. The whole motivation for Thanos, right, is that he's trying to get the attention of the Marvel embodiment of death, which is a female character, correct?
Yeah.
So Kate Blanchett's
Hela?
character, yeah, is sort of where I'm leading. She is the goddess of death. They specifically say that in the trailer. So could it be her that Thanos is trying to win the affections of?
I don't know. You know I hate Thanos. And, I mean, I know enough about his team just because I have that book up on my shelf. I don't know. Could be. And you know what? Actually, she repeats it so often. I'm the god of death so much. It gets a little annoying, actually.
They seem like they're hammering that point home, and I think it would do well to set up Thanos that way, instead of suddenly mentioning his motivation as to someone that we've never seen or met before. But if they set her up in Thor, and then immediately after that, 2 movies later, we get him talking about her in Infinity War.
You might be onto something because, and I think it's the Avengers storyline, the new one in 2017. Just comic book sidebar. Anything I talk about is going to be about the books.
That's fine. Do what
they
you gotta
kiss. They make out. Thanos and Hela.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And I think you don't care what book it is. March. The March release, so I think it's the Avengers. So, you might be onto something. Now, is it gonna happen in the MCU? Like I said, they are not that great about sticking to the books.
Right.
But they make out.
I mean, if they don't use that motivation for him, then I don't really know what, because we technically in the MCU we don't know Thanos' motivation for going after the gauntlet and the gems, other than he wants them.
Right.
Like, we don't know why he's doing that. So I don't know if that's something they still have to set up, or if they'll give us another explanation for something like that. I don't know what else they could use. I
mean, Infinity Gauntlet showed exactly what you just said. His attempt to woo her. I don't know.
Okay. Ian, you got any guesses?
That's a great question.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I guess in my head, I assumed she was like the Norse god of death, so I figured it'd be different than like the MCU god of death. But it makes a lot of sense, like that's how they could tie Thanos into this again to help really kickstart Infinity Wars now, because Marvel, loves doing all that tie-in stuff.
Yep.
So they do it really well.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what kind of power set or background they give Hela in Thor, if that could somehow fit. Because I see what you're saying, Ian, that maybe she's just relegated to the Thor mythology and not overarching Marvel Universe mythology.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that could be the difference. Although if they have 2 people that somehow represent death, I feel like that's confusing for non-comic book fans.
Yeah, that's going to be analysis paralysis for them.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, hold on, I wanted to show you guys this because then you can see what I'm talking about. I'm sending you a picture via Skype. That happened, let me know when you get it. I sent it, okay. That's Thor and Hela making out, in Unworthy Thor number 5, which came out in March. And shows exactly what you just said, Brian. So,
I think you said it showed Thor and Hela making out. That is Thanos.
Sorry, no, right, Thanos headache. You remember what I told you about my normal aphasia?
I got you. I just want to make sure the
Hela.
listeners are aware that you are giving us the correct picture that we just talked about.
Yeah, it is Thanos kissing and mad embrace. And if you notice, he's wearing an empty gauntlet.
Ooh, okay, good call.
So, but again, that's Unworthy Thor. That's kind of a side Marvel thing, but I mean,
if they're pulling inspiration from all over the place, whatever comic they want to grab it from, that could work. Josh, real quick, we were thinking that possibly Thanos' motivation for the gauntlet and getting the gems to try to woo death could be Hela from Thor Ragnarok, the goddess of death.
That would easily make sense, and if that was the long game they were playing, since that post-credit scene of Avengers, that's actually a really simple way to work that in. Now, Hela, in terms of that, I mean, she's the goddess of death in, like, the Norse mythology that Thor and all that comes from, right? Like,
right. That's the point Ian was making. That
right.
She might be strictly that universe and not necessarily the overarching Marvel universe.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at the same time, like, you know, Thor in the human, our human world reality here, we thought it was just a story, and then in the Marvel universe, it's because he was based on a real being, so therefore couldn't, you know, Hela be as well. No, that would actually work out. I'd be fine with that, because I pictured this idea of death, if they ever, like, actually manifested it and personified it, being vastly different. I guess I always thought of Hela as like a Hades, like ruler of the underworld type deal, but not necessarily like goddess of death, bringer of death. Obviously,
right.
From the trailer, it shows that, but like she's more of a destructor and all that. That actually makes a lot of sense. I could see that.
You heard it here first. We're breaking stories for Thor and Avengers.
Ooh. Cutting, we're going to be cited everywhere tomorrow. Or
I know.
Monday or Tuesday, whatever.
Gonna be internet famous. All of
You
us.
guys, so, not in the books, but in mythology, do you know who Hela's dad is? Fun academic facts, people! It's Loki!
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, that would be wonderful if that was revealed, but I doubt it. That's in the Norse mythology. She has no father or mother in the comic books. She's just the ruler of the realm of death, and her origins are mysterious.
Gotcha, okay.
So.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of what I expect to see, is that. Alright, anything else for Ragnarok, or we'll move on to the next trailer? Nothing? Alrighty. Next one that I have is for a movie that I've personally been really looking forward to, for Ready Player One. So this is based off a book of the same name, where the book plays basically like a love letter for 80s pop culture and video games and all the good stuff. It will be directed by Steven Spielberg, which seems to be, I would guess, the only person probably capable of pulling off this movie. If you're familiar with the book, you'll understand probably how perfect that director choice is. Before we get into the trailer, did anybody actually read the book? I think Josh did.
I have.
I did, yes. I devoured it. I don't read that much anymore, which I feel bad about, because I do enjoy it, but typically if I find something and I happen to pick it up, I end up plowing through it, and I did with this. Read it on lunch breaks, read it at home, I just went through it quickly. I loved it.
Becky, you said you did read it? Yes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Dude, actually, it's funny, I read it, but I didn't absorb most of it because I read it when I was sick. I listened to the audiobook, which I normally hate. Do you know who narrates it?
No.
Will Wheaton. Who, by the way, is mentioned in the book.
Yes, he is.
Oh, that's fun.
So, yeah. Yes, I've read it. So.
Okay. Ian told me he just finished it too, right, the other day?
Yeah, and you didn't believe me.
I still don't believe you, kind of, but...
I read it Sunday.
Okay.
And Brian's still not. Look at him. He's just not buying it.
Again, I've said this numerous times on the show. I can't ever believe half the stuff you say, so I can't ever tell when you're truthful or lying. The trolls keep coming, Ian. I can't tell with you.
I could definitely see somebody getting through it. Especially if you enjoy the subject matter and the references. I mean, the thing that that hooked me in, the references were fun, but honestly, I just thought that the base idea of the whole thing was extremely creative and brilliant. Even if it had every now and then, it would have a lot of references to a bunch of 80s crap and pop culture stuff that I'd never heard of, or I don't know much about, because I never got into that fandom, that particular segment of stuff.
Right.
But just the base idea of it, because it's really like a hop, skip, and a jump from where we are right now anyway, that it sucks you in immediately.
Since the trailer is really just a teaser, it just shows a lot of flashy visual effects, doesn't really talk about the plot at all.
Yeah.
Josh, since you were sort of starting to go that way, do you want to try to summarize what the book is about for people unfamiliar?
Yeah, it's great. And this isn't even necessarily a spoiler because this is literally like the framework of the whole plot is imagine if like a Facebook type of social media was even more ever present and interweaved into daily life to the extent that you are not even like going to school anymore. You're sitting at home and going to virtual school online with like a virtual reality headset and you know, quote unquote, join other students in the classroom and you literally have your school day like that. Like other than partial, like maybe shopping for necessities if you need to. Like people barely have human interaction anymore in person. It doesn't really seem like it goes that way all the time. But imagine something like that cultivates for, you know, a couple of decades and the person who created that obviously makes sense, becomes the richest person like ever in the world. Imagine that person dies without a wife or, well, without a spouse, without children, without any heirs. And they want to leave their, you know, $11 billion to somebody. And so what they do is they set up a game within that virtual world that everybody uses. And the people smart enough to crack the code, solve the puzzles, etc., get through the game, so to speak, will inherit like the control of the company and the wealth and the fortune and all that. That's the baseline of the story. Mm-hmm. And that was the part that I found just completely compelling right from the beginning. Like I said, even if it was intertwined with stuff that I had never heard of one thing, I just thought the idea of it was creative enough that I was hooked from like just the back cover.
Yeah. And the whole thing with the 80s pop culture and stuff, the creator of this world, this supposed like Steve Jobs type character, was just obsessed with the 80s. So everything that he integrated in there has a bunch of 80s nostalgia, and all the puzzles that need to be solved are all tied somewhere to 80s pop culture and stuff like that. So just all the references that they tie in there is just fantastic, which I feel like is going to be a licensing nightmare for this movie. So we'll see what they end up doing.
Maybe. I mean, number one, it's Spielberg.
Right.
Yeah.
So
who's gonna say no to Spielberg? Number two, if they're hiring Spielberg, they got a budget enough that they're ready to write the check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're gonna have a trouble. And anything that they wanted to get in, like whatever we see, I will presume 100% that is everything they wanted. If it's not in there, but it's in the book, for instance, they didn't want it. That's what I'm presuming.
Yeah.
I think they've come out and said specifically, like, there are certain, they haven't said what, but there are certain aspects of the book that they are avoiding or changing or not using, just one for the sheer fact of trying to keep the audience surprised, so people that read the book, when they see the movie, there's still some surprises in there and they don't know exactly what's going to happen. Wow. So whether that works for better or worse, we will see after the movie's out, but yeah. I think there is a lot in there for them to try to grab, so we'll have to see what they end up with. Yeah. But for the trailer, since the trailer teases us some of that stuff, what did you guys think of the teaser trailer?
There wasn't really much in it, so, I mean, I, first of all, love the music choice, as I said before. Tom Sawyer?
Yeah.
Way to go. Yeah. That was perfect.
Nice tone.
I'm hoping the whole soundtrack is all just 80s music.
I imagine it's going to be heavy into that, because all the stuff he's going to, like, the characters encounter, like, it might not just be random background noise, but all the stuff that they encounter along the way of the journey of the puzzle, like, could definitely be infused with that, and it would fit the context of what they're dealing with at the moment. So that could definitely fuel the soundtrack choices. I think if there's random 80s hits and songs that we all like, you recognize, or that, you know, if they're like used in scenes that don't really seem like it's just music playing, it doesn't have anything to do with what's going on contextually, I think it's going to be weird, actually.
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Because the story the story takes place, like, around, like, the year, 2100?
2044.
Yeah.
Is that it?
In the book it is. I don't know about the...
You're right. Yeah, I forgot. Well, I guess it was also going off the idea that, like, this guy's technology really started to infiltrate, like, in the early, like, 2000s, late 90s. So, like, it got a more of a jump start than, like, starting right now, but...
Yeah.
Can I actually ask, Brian, have you read the book yet?
Yeah. It's probably about a year and a half ago, so my details are a little bit fuzzy, but yeah, I did read it.
Okay, so we all have a literary baseline. The visual look of the movie, how far or how close from what you remember seeing in your head from the book do you think they chose? Like, was it about what you thought, or was it far off? What did you think?
Yeah, I think it fits what I was picturing, because especially since the majority of the book takes place in the Oasis, which is this virtual world.
Yeah.
You expect some sort of saturated graphics like a computer game, which is what I feel like we're getting. So all the computer effects, I think, fit. Like, it might not look photoreal like some movies try to do for computer effects, but that works because you're looking at a video game, so you get some leeway there.
How about you guys?
The only thing like that really stood out to me as being different based on the teaser is like the stacks he's in, the stacks of trailers didn't look nearly as dangerous as I pictured them.
Okay.
They almost seemed safe in the trailer. Not like
Yeah,
safe,
that's
but
true.
like not dangerous.
Like, too much care is actually given to them.
Like they planned it out almost. Like there was thought going into it. Not like they just started stacking them because they ran out of room.
Well,
That's just
part of why I
props
bring
to
it
Ty
up...
Sheridan for sliding down those poles very, very eloquently.
Oh, yeah. Like, part of why I brought it up was I realized after seeing it that because basically my video game career kind of stopped after, like, N64. And, like, anything that I've played since then have, like, honestly been, like, the current version of, like, Mario Party, Mario World, those ones. The world of the Oasis, like, in my head, I saw those kind of graphics.
Okay.
Like, it was very, like, cubism, blocky, Avatar type of characters. And so when I saw this, like, in my brain, like, hyper-stylized, Tron-esque, almost, visual, I mean, it looks brilliant, and I think it's going to be visually stunning. It's going to look really cool. I just realized how far of a distance I have from all this stuff. I'm like, oh wow, like my version feels so like elementary to what they did. Like in this case, good God, I was not on the creative team.
Well, I'm sure there could be some of the old, like, 8-bit and 80s arcade game look for certain things, because I think even, like, one of the puzzles has to do with a specific 80s arcade cabinet, right? Isn't the first one?
I think, yeah.
So you could get some of that stuff there.
There's stuff... Well, here's the thing, though. There's, like, Zork, Pac-Man, Black Tiger, all that stuff, but Steven Spielberg said that he was going to cut a lot of the references, not because of budget, but because he'd be accused of vanity. Because a lot of the stuff referenced in the book is some of his stuff. But I wonder, but he wasn't just talking about that. I think he was, I don't know. I trust Spielberg. I do.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But I wanted to mention real quick that, Simon Pegg is playing Og.
Yep.
Isn't that the Wozniak type
Yeah,
character?
yeah. He's supposed to be a combination of Wozniak and Jobs.
Okay.
He's the creator of Oasis. And it's funny because he's not really a good or bad character. I mean, what is it? In the book, he moves to Oregon because he leaves the Oasis project, right? And but I love Simon Pegg. He's able to play a villain. I don't know if you guys watched Doctor Who. He played a really bad guy in Doctor Who. And kind of a dystopian future. So
okay.
I think that he's a perfect choice for that character.
Yeah, that would be fun to see.
So the only thing I would maybe add there, if I misunderstood, is so in the story there's two kind of main collaborators that create not just the world, but grow the company that created it into what it becomes. And I think Becky was giving the impression that Simon Pegg is playing like the creator, whereas if that was,
he's the co-creator, right?
Yeah, he was the co-creator and sort of more of like the savvy business partner in the group. His character is Ogden Morrow. Mark Rylance, who worked with Spielberg previously on Bridge of Spies and the BFG. He's playing James Halliday. And Halliday's more he's the one that passes away. He's the one that left the fortune, that was the architect of the thing, had the vision, loves all the 80s references. And Peg is, his lifelong friend and, who then continues to play a role in all this later on.
Right.
Either way, I think it looks damn good.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be high up there on my most anticipated for 2018, for sure.
Yeah. Even before, well before I saw this, as soon as I read the book and then immediately realized, oh, they're making a movie of that? Yeah, it was already going to be in, my top 3, at least top 5, unless something really, really good comes along.
Right. So the trailer actually throws us, I think, a couple Easter eggs. You guys spot any? Did anything stick out to you guys?
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
That was one, yep. In that same shot, I think there's Duke Nukem also.
Oh, really?
And I think, from what I can tell, because I was trying to freeze frame this crap and look for shit, the same shot where Freddy Krueger dies, I think the whoever shoots him, the weapon he is wielding, to me, looks exactly like an assault rifle from Halo. So that's a fun video game Easter egg. Anything else for anybody?
The bike from the anime Akira makes an appearance.
Oh, yeah! That was the one I caught.
Wow, you guys are good. Because I have no reference for that stuff, so that's that's the awesome stuff that's going to be in there for fans of all different kinds of these fandoms.
I mean, I think there's 2 obvious ones that nobody has touched yet.
Ooh, I got one.
Yep.
The obvious one is the egg, the adventure egg.
Oh, I missed that one.
I even made a copy of it.
The adventure egg?
So, well, keep in mind this is way before our time. So,
okay.
In the Atari game Adventure, there's there's a maze. In the, if you Google Ready Player One title card, look at the O in 1. It's an egg.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see that.
And it's a nod to the maze from the Atari game Adventure.
Oh, that's
okay.
cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I missed that one.
And the only reason I know that is because MetaMesh, the charity I run, we were beta testing some very early games to see, because when we had really slow speeds, we moved up to sketching for Sega, but we did Atari first, and I saw that because these early games are pretty terrible, for rightly so, but I saw that and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's, and I forget, but where does the term Easter egg come from?
I don't know where
that
the
myself.
Phrase coined. I had seen it for different, movie and shit like that, where people are like, did you see these Easter eggs? And I just kind of adopted it from there. All the little stuff that's hidden in there as little secrets and clues and hints to other things.
I heard it was from Rocky Horror Picture Show, but I've never heard that confirmed.
Oh, okay.
But I've also heard... No! I was right. Okay, because I'm sorry. Yes, I Googled this. The term was coined to describe a hidden message in the Atari video game Adventure that led to encourage... And that egg in the 1 is a literal Easter egg.
Oh, see, it all comes back around.
It's the first Easter egg. So, yeah, because when I found that, we have some guys that are in their 40s, who grew up playing Atari. Well, you get that, don't you? No, I don't. And don't be a douche when you explain it to me. So, yeah, I heard, I don't know what the Rocky Horror thing was from. I was curious, but I also heard that event, but now Wikipedia confirms the first one is it's a reference to the Atari game Adventure. Again, the egg in Ready Player One.
Yeah, so that comes full circle for that.
Woo!
Did they, actually, I'm trying to remember now, since you found that and brought that up. Don't they actually explain that
Yeah, they reference it in the book that's the first Easter egg.
In the book, like, doesn't they, there's a letter or something, like a goodbye letter that Halliday leaves behind. It's like a video. It's a video, right?
Yeah.
And he explain that, like, specifically? I think that's what he says, like, in this game adventure, this is what you find, like, so therefore, like, here's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, because I think it's the one, because that's when Atari wouldn't let the guys who made the games be in the credits, so the guy hid his credits in it, yeah.
Yes.
They explained that in the book, I remember.
Yeah, it's coming back to me now.
There you go.
Good find, Becky.
Yeah, I'm useful.
Anything else stick out to you guys? I got a couple more, I think.
I noticed, like, you mean references, never mind.
Well,
either way.
The easy ones, the DeLorean, the Iron Giant.
Right, those are
the Iron Giant! Yeah.
There is a Bigfoot monster truck, if you like monster trucks. Specifically, Bigfoot is in there.
I forgot about him.
When he's going into, like, that dance club where the people are floating in the air, on the left-hand side of the shot, when that shot starts, there's someone that definitely is dressed like Harley Quinn.
Oh.
And possibly a Deathstroke or someone similar. It's very dark, so I can't tell if that's supposed to be like Deadpool, Deathstroke, some other type of superhero character like that. And I couldn't tell. Who the hell's next? Do we have any idea who is next to the Iron Giant? I've seen some people call it out as possibly a Ninja Turtle. I feel like it looks like Lady Deadpool.
Oh, I don't
Lady
remember.
Deadpool. Lady Deadpool or Lady Deathstroke?
Lady Deadpool. Because there are definite swords on the back. It looks like a ponytail.
Huh.
It should be like
Was it a
117.
ponytail or just like straps?
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
I don't know. I'm looking for a ruling. What do you guys think?
I don't see the ponytail like you do. I just see the swords.
I think that could be just more of like a Sentai costume.
So some sort of ninja or something.
Yeah, like
see
Power
that
Rangers.
Crunchyroll. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, that's just a guess by me. I could be way off.
I think this is going to be one of those movies that people, I mean, I hope they see it more than once. Like, if people, for those who have no familiarity with the books or anything, I'm hoping it captures them enough that, like, they're entranced to try to go see it again. But,
right.
I think, like, for people like us, we're definitely gonna have to watch it more than once because half the time it's gonna be, look how cool this looks and this is a cool story, and the other half of the time is gonna be, wait, I missed those 3 references, let me go back to the movies a week later to see it again because I'm so distracted by, like, I'm either distracted by the story that I missed the references or vice versa.
Yeah, I think my plan will probably be try to watch it for what the story is the first time. After I've seen it once, look up Easter eggs online, where they're hidden and what to look for, and then go see it again with that in mind, so I know where to divert my attention and try it that way.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna put my money on the one character you said being Deathstroke, possibly, because this is a Warner Brothers movie.
Yeah, it's easy for them to get DC characters in this.
Yeah, as opposed to really anything else. Like, I'm sure if Marvel or any of the other imprints wanted to play nice just for funsies, like, maybe they did here and there, but, DC, like, literally is their company, so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, honestly, I'd be really surprised if you see Marvel, Star Wars, or any type of Disney characters in this at all. As much as Steven Spielberg has some pull, that type of competing studios like that, I don't think they'd give him the time of day.
Yeah.
Alright,
Ian, did you want to add something for the trailer?
The only thing is, like, I also noticed, I know they changed where he lived originally. I've noticed that when he talks about it, he talks about living in Columbus when he originally lived in Oklahoma City in the book. And then he references the Missing Million, which is a group of people in Japan called Hikikomori, which are like these, like, enclosed people, so I thought that was kind of different to, like, reference that as this, like, lost generation.
Okay. Yeah, you probably read the book more recently than any of us, so all this stuff is probably really fresh in your mind.
Well, that was just in the trailer, I think. I don't know if it was in the book, but I know that's, like, a recent phenomenon in Japan about people.
Oh,
and they use the Missing Million term for it.
Gotcha. All right. Alright, so I'm going to move us along, I think, to the news stuff, because I feel like we still have a lot to cover, and I think we're quickly running out of time here, so we'll see how quickly we get through this stuff. Most of the news, I think the more important stuff that we'll probably cover, happened on usually Saturday's the big news day. So Saturday opened with the Warner Brothers panel. Really quickly, I don't think I even told you guys about this, but we're going to fit this in real quick.
What?
Yeah. The day before the panel, news started hitting the internet that Ben Affleck was dropping out of playing Batman.
Right.
He was asked this directly at the Warner Brothers panel for Justice League, and he went on record saying he loves the character, will play Batman as long as they allow him to. Do we think there's any truth to these rumors? Is he contemplating leaving? Are they trying to kick him out? Or you think this is all bullshit and he is along for the long run?
Given the wording of his answer, I think it's more of a production director choice and not his own. And you know what?
Yeah, I like
his
that.
Batman isn't bad. His Batman isn't bad. The writing for his Batman has been bad.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and which was a pleasant surprise to me, quite frankly. I've always been kind of agnostic about Ben Affleck, but I respect him as an, for being an actor. He's always been kind of a humble guy.
Yeah.
I saw him cry about the time Kevin Smith gave him his first big break.
Yep.
And he did very well. I just think he was given a bad script. So maybe the upcoming movie will show that he's got more to him. And I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, for all the
Otherwise-
shit that he got before that movie, before Batman Superman, and I think he came out of it looking as one of the most redeeming factors of that movie. I think that goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, along with Wonder Woman, quite frankly.
Well, true.
But, that being said, if he wants to drop out, Michael Keaton will always. He is Batman.
Hey, if they want to play an aged Batman, Michael Keaton's right there ready.
Oh, I love
Which-
Michael Keaton.
Which I would say, if they, skipping ahead to the Flashpoint thing again real quick, if they do that, I think casting Michael Keaton as Thomas Wayne would be freaking brilliant.
Huh.
Well, do we want to jump into that since Josh just talked about that? That was one of the other things that they covered at the Warner Brothers panel, was that the Flash, still directorless Flash movie, we have no idea when it's coming or when it's going to get a director, but they've announced a title for the movie, which they're going to play off the Flashpoint storyline. Do you want to give us a summary of Flashpoint?
So Flashpoint is the idea where, so if you're unfamiliar with the origin of Barry Allen, at some point when he was a kid, an unknown entity, which he learns later as he grows up and everything, but an unknown entity kills his mother when he is a child, and his father is sent to prison for that murder, etc., etc. So later on in his adult life, at some point, he chooses to use his ability to run through time, because he can go so fast, he can break the time barrier. He goes back into the past, stops the murder of his mother, and as he sees it, like the destruction of his childhood and his life and all that. That, of course, has butterfly effect, and then he returns to a quote-unquote present. This is all very, like, Back to the Future, too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And in this, I mean, do we want to go even beyond that? Because it could get a little spoilery, because, I mean, the baseline of the story, that's
yeah, I don't know if you want to
the
spoil
story.
stuff. Yeah.
I wouldn't go farther than that.
So, yeah, he comes back to an alternate reality. Same thing as Back to the Future 2. One that he realizes is wrong and different, but of course nobody else does. And, DC movies did make an animated movie of the Flashpoint paradox a couple years ago, and I didn't know anything about Flash before that. I didn't really care about a lot of the DC stories, but that one property, actually, that one story they made, like, that sucked me into DC stories more than anything has before. I thought that was freaking brilliant. And if the live action that they do is anything like some of these story elements that they had in that version of it, this is going to be a really freaking good movie.
And do we want to, like, I don't know, because you sort of mentioned it too, so I don't know if this is considered spoilers, but should we talk about the effect it has on Batman in the Flashpoint universe?
I guess, yeah, because I did.
Is that what you were trying to skate around?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, in this, the one little thing I will add, because I kind of said it already a bit, is in this alternate reality, Thomas Wayne is still alive.
Yes.
That's as much as I'll say.
So our, and this isn't spoil. You can tell them that Dick Grayson's parents are still alive too.
Yes.
Just to let you know, Josh, I don't know if you've been reading. Remember that the Flash crossover that I told you about with the button?
Yes.
That is a reimagining of this storyline, the Flashpoint Paradox storyline.
Oh, okay.
So, it's just wrapping up, I think, now. They're kind of dragging it out because, the button, the comedian rapping into Batman? But you know what, guys? I highly recommend it. And, I've been on kind of a DC, since Rebirth, I've been just amazed at some of the stuff. The new Superman, the new Wonder Woman, and this, crossover is very well done. And it has to do with this Flashpoint paradox. So,
okay.
I won't get in much more than that. And it also deals with, the comedian and Dr. Manhattan in a way that I don't know yet because I haven't gotten that far. So, but highly recommend it. I have the books if you guys would like to borrow them.
Cool.
Fair enough. Wasn't Flashpoint, didn't Flashpoint kick off New 52? Or am I interpreting that differently?
2000. I thought Flashpoint was like 2011.
Yeah, see, I'm coming into it not reading the
yeah,
books.
Yeah.
This is...
New 52 was way before then. They were, Flashpoint is 2011.
So did Flashpoint cap off New 52?
I think it capped it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was the other way around. So Flashpoint, did that help create the Rebirth, or did Rebirth try to reset Flashpoint?
It reset it. So
Okay.
If you guys remember Rebirth, they completely, changed things and give it, again, the whole point is the rebirth. They, you know what? Listeners, if you have not read it yet, read Rebirth #1. It's like $1.99 for an 80-page book. Or
oh, wow.
$2.99. Yeah. And they did that on purpose. They wanted to give people a chance. They wanted disaffected readers who were not happy with how New 52 turned out to give DC another chance, and I'm glad that they did this because holy shit is Rebirth #1 excellent. My mom read Rebirth. The only thing she's ever read is Betty and Veronica. That's not true. She likes Eleanor and the Egret. I'm slowly getting my mother into comics, and it's wonderful. But seriously, check out Rebirth, especially the new Superman, Wonder Woman, and the crossover with the button. And
okay.
Didn't mean to get off at a tangent, but
no, you're good.
We make fun of DC. I know that Ian worships Zack Snyder, but obviously DC's movies in the past have not always been gold mines of quality. Wonder Woman being kind of an exception, flawed as it might be. And I'm hoping the best for this latest movie, but the latest comics for DC have been really good. Really good. So
that's fair.
I don't Super Friends recommendation.
I don't like Superman very much. I don't even like DC very much. Josh, you and I have another thing in common. I did never like DC growing up, but the new DC stuff is like a breath of fresh air, and it gives hope where to a society really that has none. We're in a political climate right now. The new Superman that came out yesterday, New Comic Book Day is always Wednesday. The Superman, I think it's number 28. There is no Superman on the cover. It's the people who are, you see them in the shadow and they're looking up, and it's all different types of Americans looking up. Black, white, Muslim, police, poor person, and they're and it shows them having hope. And he said that was the one thing he wanted to hit, and I think he did it very well. It's kind of difficult without seeing the cover, but look, I don't put my stamp of approval on things unless I feel very strongly about them. So go check out DC Rebirth. I'm done. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
So if they can translate that strongly enough into a Flashpoint production, then yeah, maybe it's got some hope.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see who they nail down as director. Because I keep hearing that Robert Zemeckis is still the front runner for this. They
For
have
the
not
writer
taken
or director?
for the director. Front
Okay.
runner for director.
Which, if again, I mean, given the comparison that I just gave, literally, that's your Back to the Future guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he would be very fitting. Yeah, like I said, I feel like 4 years ago, maybe, when they announced, the DC tried announcing, like, some long extended schedule. I'm pretty sure the Flash standalone was originally scheduled for 2018, I believe. It's generically just listed at 2020 right now. It doesn't have a month, doesn't have anything. Yeah, there's no director, and there's only 4 cast members listed so far. Billy Crudup as his father, who I think is in Justice League.
Which I think they changed that already. I'm pretty sure he already said he's not coming back for Flash.
Oh, really?
Huh.
So, which is going to be real weird if they get him in Justice League as Barry's dad, and then they go to the Flash movie and Barry's dad is recast.
It's, maybe they'll, I don't even know what they'll friggin' do, but yeah, they have Ezra Miller, Billy Crudup, the actress that'll be playing Iris West, and, then the character of Cyborg in it again. That's it. So, I mean, there's so very little to go on. I don't know, whatever Warner Brothers needs to do, they obviously have a problem with creativity. If Zemeckis is what it takes, just back the truck up, give him what he wants, and then back away. Like, leave the neighborhood.
That could be why they delayed it then. I think if he's busy doing other movies or has something coming out that he's trying to push before that, they might have delayed the release to make sure they get him.
And that's fine. They just, I mean, when you're a creator, when you're a collaborator, when you're in the business of making and creating, you have to make and create.
Yeah.
And they're not that good at that.
I've read some criticism of, I don't know where, but journalists, my friend who works for the Nerdist, DC diehards are not happy about Flashpoint because this is something that helped literally rebirth DC, that's doing very well in the comics, and they don't trust Shaky Legs DC Universe to adapt it correctly. Tried and true material like, Justice League, Wonder Woman, things like that, you can have a failure and get back up and make another Batman movie or make another Wonder Woman movie. But the Flashpoint, not so easily done.
Yeah.
This is something that really helped the company. They have to get it right the first time with the movie.
Yeah. I want to make sure we get you in here. Anything for Flashpoint that you want to add?
I guess it's always going to be tough with me though when, with time travel after the abomination that became the Transformers franchise. I think once you start dealing into it, it gets really tough for audiences to follow. And then you have examples like the Terminator franchise where you no longer respect your audience and you just start making shit up. And DC hasn't necessarily shown they care about their audience. They're just kind of seeing what sticks. So that's the only thing that worries me about them adding time travel. Not even how faithfully they would adapt the Flashpoint storyline, just how they're going to deal with time travel.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Thing.
I can see, and I know this is a different director, I can see someone like, oh my god, alright, my headache's getting really bad. Who's taking over for Zack Snyder?
Joss
Whedon.
I can see Joss Whedon, who is a comic book fan, treating the source material with respect. I can see Joss Whedon doing very well with Flashpoint. I know he's busy, but he can handle time travel.
True.
No, he'd be someone I trust, but I don't know if he's someone that's going to start directing a bunch of DC movies.
Right.
And I feel like DC's director choices, other than Zack Snyder, don't always inspire me. Like, I know Zack can handle time travel really well, but other people I'm not so sure about.
Anything else for Flashpoint?
Nah, just hoping that once they get there that they do it justice and it's done really well. Because it has the potential to honestly be extremely interesting and entertaining, like legitimately. So they just gotta make sure they do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It'd be nice to have another, superhero set of franchises do well, finally.
Alright, I think I have one other thing from DC. Yeah, so, comes as no surprise, Wonder Woman is officially getting a sequel. Patty Jenkins is officially coming back. They announced that at San Diego.
Did they?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We obviously gushed over Wonder Woman a few weeks ago, so I'm assuming you guys are excited, but what do you think about the news of Wonder Woman 2?
Great. I will drag Adam back into that theater. Josh, Adam hated it.
I heard, and I
hated it.
I tried to keep an objective mind as to why someone might dislike it, and the only thing I could think is, like, was he, like, in his mind, did they play off of tropes too much? And that's why, because I honestly don't feel that there's a whole lot about that movie to dislike.
It's funny because, and I don't want to get too much into this because I spent a whole, 2 hours bitching about it, but I loved the first 2 acts, and I disliked the third act, and okay. I actually gave him his due on Brian's show.
Yeah.
And said that I agree with the failures, and here's where I agree with Adam.
Right.
And he hated that, no one but Diana, her mother, and, what's his name, were given any character background.
Yeah, that was a problem.
He thought that was, the worst thing, and that, with the failures of the third act, and I think his, hypoglycemia, gave him enough fuel to hate it.
Okay.
But I told him, and I made him listen to the episode, and he's like, did you just, ditch me the whole time? And I said, no, I don't. Just I have friends. Look, I very much dislike Logan. I saw it again and still didn't like it much better. I love my friends, and I like disagreeing with them because I like hearing another person's opinion. Brian, thank you for giving me the forum on your page to bitch about it too.
Anytime.
But a lot of people, no one had a lot to say, well, you're wrong. People were like, oh, I see your point. I feel like that's the same way with Adam and Wonder Woman. Getting back to the original point, sorry.
That was my question. I kind of did that. Sorry.
I'm excited for it because I want to get back to Thymoscara if we can.
Agreed.
I want to get more into how she could possibly be disillusioned, or is it going to be post Justice League? Is it going to be in the time between? You know what? Too soon to tell. Sorry, I don't want to yap up all your time, Brian.
No, you're good.
Well, they didn't announce that there was going to be a sequel until I for some reason I think even the studio. I mean, maybe after the critical response of the first 3 DC movies, they really were just holding their breath and weren't making any presumptions this time. But they didn't make really any announcements about the sequel until the release of the film. Even maybe a week or 2 afterward, until they were really sure, this thing is making money and people genuinely seem to love it. So it's slated for a 2019 release, which means if they were waiting for the green light till June of this year, they pretty much got to get on the ground running immediately.
Yeah, I don't know how late they'll work to get in, or how late they'll wait to get into production on this, because I'm sure they want to strike while the iron's hot. Everybody's talking about Wonder Woman, it's still breaking records. They want to get it out as soon as possible while people are still thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, the only saving grace a little bit is, I thought June was a very good month for a movie like that, but it's initially slated for December. And I think, Brian, you shared this
that's right.
on
they
the
did
page.
Put the release date out.
About the release date was part of the article, and I'm like, why are so many movies clamoring for December all of a sudden when, I'm sorry, I still believe that the majority of Star Wars movies for the next 5 or 6 years, they're going to put them in December. They're not going to be summer releases.
You say that, yet Han Solo is still sticking to that May release date. They have yet to move that.
Didn't they say 9 wasn't going to be a Christmas release either?
Yeah, after Han Solo, I think they're all going from May, from there on out.
But here's the thing, that Disney owns both Star Wars and Marvel, and they have claimed and carved out May as a very big Marvel month for the last several years. They've already been in that slot for years. Even if they go the beginning of the month and the end of the month, it just, I don't know, it's they're competing with themselves. I don't know why, December, they could have literally, just stick with December. Nobody could have competed with you. Ready Player One moved from December 2018 or 17 to the spring of 2018 specifically because of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, everyone else will move around you. You're freaking Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know. We talked about that before. Those release dates for Avengers and Star Wars too close together. It doesn't make sense to me. No. But they're a $1 billion company, so they must know something I don't.
I mean, if they're sticking with because I see it right on IMDb right now, at least May 24th, 2019 for Episode 9.
Yes.
And they're gonna have Avengers 4 the first weekend of that same month.
Yes.
So, I mean, maybe December 2019 is going to be freed up for Wonder Woman 2. If it does, God bless them, and I hope it does well. But I thought the beginning of the summer, like June, like right when school's getting out, like it was a perfect thing to kick that off right after Labor Day weekend. I thought it was a good slot.
Fair enough. Anything else for the DC stuff, or we got a couple Marvel things to hit? Nothing? Alrighty. So for Marvel's panel, as I mentioned, they gave us the Thor trailer. We had a couple news bullet points for them too. They gave us a few details on Captain Marvel, which up until this point we haven't heard really too much about other than Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. So they confirmed it will be set in the 90s. It will feature the Kree and Skrull War, I think, which is huge because I thought the Skrulls were tied with Fantastic Four and Fox. So if that was the case, I don't know what kind of deal Marvel made to be able to use the Skrulls in the MCU, but that could be another topic for another time. And Sam Jackson will be back as Nick Fury. And it will be early enough in the timeline where he will have 2 working eyes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We hate eyes. We like Cyclopses.
So you think they're going to
Cycle.
de-age Sam Jackson for this movie? You think they'll put him through that process?
I don't think they need to all that much, to be honest.
Yeah.
The guy looks damn good anyway, so...
True, yeah. Didn't know if they'd patch up some wrinkles or something.
They might. I don't think they're gonna have... They're not gonna have to do, like, a Robert Downey Jr. or a, Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
I don't think they'd have to use CG. They could handle it, like, with makeup alone.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
To make it, like, believable.
Yeah.
Anything else with these couple bullet points they got to you for Captain Marvel?
I'd like to see who's playing Marvel. They have to pick someone really good.
Yeah, because that casting hasn't been announced yet either.
No, it hasn't. He's a really, really complicated and very dense, character, which isn't one of Marvel's strong points, doing complicated and or, actual backstories. And by the way, as a female-focused film, don't fuck it up.
Well, this is Marvel's chance to do their Wonder Woman, so...
That's my point. So,
How do you feel about, like, a Clive Owen?
Clive Owen can do it.
You think?
I've always liked Clive Owen. I think Clive Owen could play Bond.
Oh, nice.
Before, what's his name, took over the role, Clive Owen was my pick to play Bond.
Okay.
I think he would be a great person to play that, actually.
Well,
yeah.
As much characterization as they're going to have to do, I mean, if this is going to, to some extent, have to involve an origin story to some degree, and it's also going to be, I don't think it's going to be some story that takes place on Earth for the most part either, because the world, like this MCU world, would have some history of, like, another previous alien event and all that happening years before the Avengers, so the majority of it's going to have to take place in outer space, but you're still going to have to spend, like, how much of the movie, like, on a legit origin story, so how's that going to balance?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I guess it helps putting it in the past with the origin story, I think. So let's put it this way, do we think she'll show up for any of the Infinity War movie?
No.
I think...
If she does, she can show up just already established as Captain Marvel, and then we get the flashback backstory.
And that's exactly what I think they're going to do, kind of like the Superman Justice League thing. I think, as much as they're saying, they've kind of been vague about it, and their story has changed over time, but I think you're going to get her in, like, the last 10 minutes of Infinity War, and then you're going to get her backstory almost a year later with her solo, because that releases before Avengers 4. and then you'll understand why she's involved, what her abilities are, why she's connected, all that stuff. And then she'll play a much bigger role in Avengers 4. But I think she shows up towards the end and leaves like a big cliffhanger wherever that leaves off.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a fair prediction. The one thing that stuck out to me, the fact that we're getting the Skrulls in this movie, the only reason I could think that Marvel might have pulled so hard for the Skrulls is that maybe somewhere in Phase 4, after Thanos is presumably dealt with, they could be laying the groundwork for a Secret Invasion storyline.
I don't know anything about that arc. Can you fill me in real quick?
I'm going to try to summarize because I don't think I've read it. I've heard you tried to read up on it after the fact, but basically there were certain characters that, well, the whole thing with the Skrulls is that so part of their powers or what they do is they can transform themselves to look like anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like Invasion of the Body Snatchers type of thing.
Okay.
Eventually somebody dies, and when they die, they turn into a Skrull. So it was this whole thing of like who's impersonating who, and it's a whole guessing game of who is actually a Skrull and who's actually a hero. Okay. So it turned out like this whole group of heroes had been captured somewhere and been replaced by Skrull imposters.
Okay.
So, for instance, just if I'm spitballing here, they kill off Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America in Infinity War. After Infinity War is over, Thanos is dealt with, you find out that those weren't actually the real Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, that they were Skrulls impersonating them. That gives them freedom to bring back Chris Hemsworth, Robert Downey Jr., and Chris Evans if they want to later on down the line.
Gotcha.
It's just a spitballs idea. I don't know if they'd go that way. I feel like that could be a little bit of a cop-out if they did it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it would make sense story-wise for what they've done in the comics.
Gotcha.
I mean, you know how Carol Danvers gets her powers, right?
She
loses them
from
she
Marvel,
gets them from
right?
Marvel.
Yeah.
So, and this is no spoiler because this happens in every comic. He can pass on his powers when he dies, and he does, and that's how she gets from the explosion. She inherits, if you will, or is transferred his DNA. So,
okay.
And then she takes on the moniker of Captain Marvel.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Captain Marvel is a Kree, correct?
He's Kree. Yeah, okay. He's Kree.
I'm trying to remember keep all my comic book shit straight.
Oh, how do you think it is in my brain? I remember once, just really quick, we were on Grown Up Humans, and we were talking about this really weird sidetrack, and Dan, who owns the comic book store, myself and Jared are the only ones who really like and read lots of comics. The other guys have only started since the show started. And I said, wait a second. Doesn't X only live in an alternate universe where blank never happened? And the other guys are like, oh my God. You know? Keeping this stuff in my brain is más difícil. So that's why I always screw up when I'm talking on your show, because there's so much to remember. And I'm not
stuff rattling around in there.
Most of the time, I'm not looking at Google. I'm like, okay, what did I read in like the Marvel Encyclopedia for the umpteenth time?
Yeah, we can vouch for you. We can see that you're not computer Googling everything as we were talking about it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know, as a funny aside, Ian, his picture has been frozen since the first minute. So I'm seeing Ian from like 2 hours ago.
Mine's like that for Brian.
Nice. It's like we're talking to each
He's
other.
got this real fucking smug look on his face, and it's really been pissing me off this whole 2 hours.
Good. I hope it's staring into your soul.
We have self-driving cars, but we can't get 4 people to live talk.
Anything else for Captain Marvel?
No, sir.
I think it was one of the things that they announced a little too early for me. Like, it's one of the few things that actually remained unchanged to some degree when they announced the Phase 3 schedule a couple of years ago. Like, the Inhumans is gone, and they moved Black Panther and Thor to make room for Spider-Man, and, you know, a lot of that stuff happened. I think they announced Brie Larson too soon. I think they announced a release date too soon.
I think
so
they did too.
I hope they don't make that mistake again. And like I said, a couple episodes ago or a few months ago, we were talking about like what's going to be upcoming at Comic-Con. And one of my points was, I hope that they do not give us some Phase 4 schedule that's going to go into like 2022 because I don't really, not that I don't care, I don't want to know yet. Like, wait until, like, Avengers 4 is done or something, and then tell me what I'm about to see later. Like, just hold back. Because, again, if the schedules change, then they feel pressure to start announcing casts, and, you know, then you're into, like, the Captain Marvel or, like, Shazam effect, where, like, 5 years from now, you might see a person in a movie. Maybe not. Like, I mean, I'm glad this year Comic-Con they didn't do that, but, you know, Captain Marvel is still over a year and a half away.
I think it was actually last year at Comic-Con when they announced Brie Larson as Captain Marvel.
When they announced her, yes, but I think, so that was 2016, but it was, 2015 or late 2014, I want to say, when they announced the Phase 3 schedule, that they actually put Captain Marvel, like, on the docket, and I'm like, that's too friggin' far away. Like, I don't need to know that yet.
They gotta keep you wanting more. Give you that.
They let you know so much. It's annoying, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, there's already 20 movies I gotta see from them in the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they're already, 16, 17 movies into 16. This thing? Like,
they're into 16.
You do not need to keep feeding me the breadcrumbs. I've already been on board for 9 years. We're fine.
Well, they're always trying to bring more people in. So, as long as they find the right movie for these newbies to come into this world, Captain Marvel could be it for people.
Does it help announcing it, though, like 6 years in advance?
Not for the people that are going to jump on board when the movie comes out, but for us comic book fans, I feel like that gives us something to look forward to, yeah. I think I'm okay with that. As long as they, for the most part, stick to their schedule, with which Marvel has done. On the other hand, like DC's slate that continues to change from whenever... It was like they were just, again, trying to play catch-up to Marvel. They needed a release slate because Marvel had a release slate, so even though they don't stick by it at all, it's probably null and void by now. We should. That should be an episode. We should go back to that original release dates that they put out there, and see how many of those they've talked about, or how much of that has actually stayed to what they planned way back when.
I will find that, and that will be my project to post as a comment when the episode goes up.
Fair enough.
I'm on it.
All right. So I think since we're getting low on time, I think the last thing we're going to try to cover is one other Marvel news from their panel. They teased some stuff for Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is now currently filming as of 2 days ago. So the main thing we got from there was a few additions to the cast. If you've seen the first Ant-Man, you'll know that Janet Van Dyne was teased in the film, but never actually shown. There's some pictures of her that are strategically placed so that her face is covered, and so they could cast her later. So now we got an announcement of the cast, and Janet Van Dyne will be played by Michelle Pfeiffer.
What?
Yeah, what?
I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I am too. So that was a very sarcastic, superfluous. What?
But again, I will not consider this even being in production until Paul Rudd goes on and puts a fake Mac and Me teaser on Conan.
He has to do that when he's promoting the movie, right? Whenever they get around to that.
Yeah. Well, the one time Marvel actually did tell him that he had to show parts of Ant-Man. And for the first time, he didn't just show the clip whenever he went on the show. He actually showed the Ant-Man trailer, but then whenever the ants, like, he comes out of that faucet or whatever, Mac and Me. Yeah. So
he's got to show Mac and Me too, right? Since it's the sequel to Ant-Man?
We can only hope.
I think so.
I was surprised by the casting choice of her, because she hadn't entered my mind at all, but yeah, I think it could be really cool.
Yeah, it's one of those people you wouldn't think when you're thinking of who to cast for Janet Van Dyne, that's not a name that I would have thought of, but now that they've mentioned it, it's like, yeah, you know what, I could totally see that. That works.
Yeah. And, we're gonna have a bonus Walking Into Worlds with Michelle Pfeiffer, because she played Selena Kyle and Catwoman in 1992's Batman Returns for DC, and now she's gonna enter the Marvel Pantheon with Ant-Man and the Wasp. Boom, you didn't even see that coming.
You snuck it in there so well.
You got a twofer this week.
So one other cast that they did announce for this is Lawrence Fishburne will be playing Bill Foster, who is apparently Giant Man. I don't know too much about that character, though.
I don't know either.
and I kind of thought that Giant Man was just when Ant-Man made himself big.
Right.
I didn't understand they were different characters.
See, Giant Man's one of those fun names. He's actually a very small person.
He's a diminutive individual.
Yes. That's his superpower, actually. He gets smaller. Very, very fun name. Very fun name.
I actually was, when I went to the IMDb page after I heard this announcement, this is, like, I'm probably the only person in the world other than himself that got this excited, but, Walton Goggins is also joining the sequel, and he's actually become, like, one of my, like, favorite fun actors to watch in the last couple of years. He's on that, Vice Principals show on, I think it's HBO right now with Danny McBride.
Okay.
He was actually my favorite part of the Hateful Eight of Tarantino's movie. I loved him in that movie. Admittedly, I wanted to like roundhouse kick him in the throat every second he was on screen in Predators. But I think, I don't know, he was just like they wrote a very obnoxious over the top character for him, which he pulled off well. But, there's a couple things he's been in lately that, I kind of enjoy him. So when I saw that he was in the cast in addition to Pfeiffer and Lawrence Fishburne, I was like, oh, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Now, Josh, I know you weren't that big of a fan of the first Ant-Man.
Yeah.
You any more excited about this one?
I'm hoping to be, I think, since Evangeline Lilly gets to be much more involved, play a more important role. And granted, I know all the production stuff that went into the first one could have affected how I saw the end product. I'm hoping it's not as simple as the first one was, that there's more to it, and that I kind of come to care about the characters a bit more. Hopes up.
Yeah. Becky and Ian, how did you guys feel about the first Ant-Man?
I liked it a lot.
I liked it. It was not my favorite book. I think it was kind of slow at parts, even with Paul Rudd.
Okay.
I generally agree with Josh a little bit, but I felt the same way, I think, with Doctor Strange. When you're introducing a new, not very widely known character, I mean, he's widely known, but, like, a lot of people don't know his backstory.
Right.
You know, they don't know the Pym backstory, and nor really should they. Ant-Man was never that big of a character. But I think they did well by it, and they left room for development. I think one of the greatest weaknesses, much like Logan, was the villain.
Yeah.
But they also had to kind of, in a lot of first episodes or first films in a series like that, they're gonna have weak villains because it's an introductory to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yep, I liked it.
So you guys, is it safe to say you guys are excited for the second one? Or Becky, you still trying to play it sort of even? So you're not getting too excited?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do from now on. Seriously, after Logan, I just go in like agnostic, like, okay. And I also told you that that's kind of a difficult situation for me, because as I've said before, I hate going to movies. If I'm interested enough to go see a movie, then I have at least a modicum of expectations for it already.
Right.
So, like, Wonder Woman is a good example for that. Yep. Okay. We'll see.
Cool. Ian, you got anything else to add for Ant-Man and the Wasp?
No, it's one of those things where, like, I haven't been paying that much attention to the greater Marvel universe, but Ant-Man was one of those ones I went out for just because I knew it wasn't connected as much as the other ones. So, we'll see how I know that's not gonna be an option for the second one, so I'm gonna have to probably get caught up, otherwise it's just gonna be like, what the fuck am I watching? But I think the comedy, like, I really enjoyed that from the first one, and I just hope that carries through into the sequel.
I feel like this one comes out in an odd place. It's in between Infinity War and whatever Avengers 4 turns out to be.
Right.
So I don't know how much connected it's going to be to the greater MCU story. Like, how do you take a break after Infinity War for Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Well, I mean, do you think it would be a prequel movie then?
Like
I feel like to Ant-Man, but a prequel to, like, this Avengers stuff?
I feel like it has to be. That's the only way I think it would make sense.
You don't think that'd bother people too much for them to, like, commit to that?
Oh, I'm sure it would confuse a whole bunch of people that expect some sort of continuation of the story for Infinity War, and they go see Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it has nothing to do with that movie.
And everyone's all, like, happy in it and not, like, really
Yeah,
scared.
yeah. There's not a whole bunch of death and destruction. Everyone's still living their lives like nothing happened.
Oh, they show all the characters who died in the trailer for it?
Just to prep you, so you know what you're in for.
Like, oh, remember, these guys, they're gonna die.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think the additions to the cast are good. You can't ever go wrong, I think, with Michelle Pfeiffer or Lawrence Fishburne, so... Yeah. And I like the first Ant-Man, so I'm excited for this one.
I like Cowboy Curtis, so...
You will never... That will forever. Like, he will never be a Morpheus. He will always be Cowboy Curtis for
Cowboy
you.
Curtis. Yeah.
I love that.
You know that, Josh.
Right.
Sarah Chastik and I used to watch Pee-wee's Christmas special.
Is that what that's from? Pee-wee's Christmas Special?
No,
Well, just
he's
the
the
show in
main
general,
character in first the adult show, Lawrence Fishburne, Cowboy Curtis, and then they transferred his character over to the children's show.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Seriously, Google. It's basically Morpheus with long curly hair and a cowboy suit.
That sounds fantastic.
You've never seen that?
I have not, no.
Oh my god. You have such a magical journey ahead of you.
I guess. There's something to look forward to now. Alright, so the last question I'll ask you guys before we cut out. Out of the stuff we talked about, trailers, news-wise, who do you think, quote-unquote, won San Diego Comic-Con? Or at least, what are you most excited about? We'll try to frame it that way, out of the stuff we talked about.
Just based on what was released and what we talked about, for me, it's a tie between Ready Player One, which might edge it out. Ready Player One, and honestly, Justice League.
Okay. Ian or Becky?
I have no answer to that. I don't like questions like that. Just because and especially coming from a book fan, where I would love, and I don't know if you guys know this, but I've gone to Comic-Con in San Diego twice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
One, back in 2000, right after I graduated, 2006, when it was just starting to kind of really take off, but you could still wait in line and get tickets.
Yeah.
And then I returned again after I came back from the Czech Republic, so 2010, and Big Bang Theory and Glee were in Bones, and I walked in. I only got a ticket because a friend of mine got sick. This is when I lived in Reno for like a hot second, Josh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
I walked in, I saw like Glee and Bones, and I walked right out. I had such an amazing time meeting like creators of TV shows and writers, and I got Stan Lee to sign my encyclopedia, and I was so excited to come back, and it just crushed my soul. So while I am very excited about my favorite things becoming part of the mainstream, there's a double-edged sword to that, because things can suck. And I know that diverts from your original query, but I don't have an answer for that, because everything remains to be seen. You can't, yes, we have an announcement, and like Josh said, I think they push things too soon, just to get an edge on the competitor. Well, we've got XYZ in the mix. Yeah, well, XYZ might suck. So
See, I figured the safe answer for you was going to be Wonder Woman 2.
Look, I'm excited about it. It's just, there's so much great stuff coming out, and as you know, I was waiting. You guys know, Saga is one of my favorite non-DC Marvel comic book series, and if you've never read it, check it out. It's an image book. They are thinking about turning it into a movie in every Comic-Con. I'm waiting to hear about it. Nothing.
Keeping that under wraps.
So I was actually hoping for some image / our Valiant books, and we've got the show on Stars for American Gods, so I can't complain too much. And that is excellent, by the way. So, but every time I go to Comic-Con, or hear Comic-Con, it's DC Marvel.
Yeah.
I like the tertiary producers, so.
Yeah. All right, fair enough.
That's a long answer. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Ian, you got a pick for you?
I think the one, I guess, then, with just maybe the most potential, because it's Spielberg and they're going to throw a shit ton of money at it, it's probably Ready Player One. And it just, even the trailer didn't show as much, but it looked visually very impressive. And it's just, they're just going to spit references at you, and it could be, like, annoying. It could almost backfire.
Yeah.
But I think most people that would listen to this show are going to enjoy it.
Touche.
Yeah, I think I'm with Ian and Josh. I think Ready Player One was the one that stood out to me. I think it was even pre-Comic-Con. I think I put it up somewhere, either on Facebook or maybe I just asked you, Josh, I think what we wanted to see. And I think you were the one that suggested some sort of footage for Ready Player One.
Yeah.
And as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, yes, I do want to see that. And now that we've seen it, that's all I can think about.
Yeah, I think, and after, like, not that there's be a lull, because after Christmas, after Star Wars Mania is over, I mean, we're gonna get Black Panther in February, and I think like February and March are actually kind of busy for some releases, if I remember. But I think March is gonna come, which is Ready Player One. I think it's the end of March. I think it's gonna come quicker than we think, and it surprisingly, after Star Wars, I think people are gonna find themselves really, really itching for that one.
Yeah, that'll be a standout, I think, for sure. We'll see how the marketing goes. We'll see how they try to market this as just 80s nostalgia, or if they're going to play up the plot of this movie and see if it hooks people.
That's why I'm hoping that they at least give a base idea of what the story is, because it's a rich idea. It's going to be very visually well done, and if all they do is try to play to people's sensibilities about nostalgia, there's 1.5 million other places we can go every day to get that stuff, and it's not, like, if you can bring people in with that plus the story, that's what they should do, because the combination of the two is really what made the book so cool.
Yeah. Anything else to add real quickly, or we'll close it down? Nothing? All right, so I think that's it for us. This is our little Comic-Con recap. We'll see. I don't know what we'll do next week. We'll see if some other headlines come up, or I don't know. We'll see if we can get any other trailers or videos or whatever to talk about. We'll see what we come up with. Keep an eye out for that. So if you enjoyed the show, please stop by iTunes. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review. Be sure to share, subscribe, favorite the show. As always, you can find us on Facebook. Search Bry Guy Super Friends, or go to www.facebook.com/BryGuySuperFriends. And you can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions, any of that good stuff on Facebook, or you can email us, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com, or tweet us at BGSuperFriends on Twitter. All of those will work. And on behalf of Becky, Josh, Ian, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you all next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
I'm not saying anything.